my entrance track that I normally play just before it comes to an end. Let me say a special good evening to each and every one of you here tonight. It's always a pleasure to be in your company, but first and foremost, right off, straight off the bat, let me apologize profusely, that is, to all of you guys for the past 3 Saturdays. I've not been there, I've been missing in action, and so I know based on the number of calls and inquiries that I've been getting as to Lofty, what is up, what is up, what is up? But to tell you the plain truth, folks, by at least today is one of them, but 3 past Saturdays have been very, very hectic. And so the body was really, really tired in terms of a project. And so now that that project sort of, you know, is winding down, as it were, then this afternoon, still on the tired side, but I had to make it a point of duty to be here with you guys this evening, all right? And so, yes, I miss you guys, but, you know, it is all well and good. We got to do what we have to do, but my heart, my soul, everything within me is for my country, Dominica. And so whenever you guys are not seeing me in the flesh or hearing me, then know that something is really, really up. All right? So thank you guys for all the inquiries and the calls. So I know that that program is a much watched and much listened to and meditated upon as well program indeed. All of you already here, thank you very, very much indeed. Folks, we're going to get straight to it because it's just 1 hour, and you know how 1 hour flies. We're going to get straight into it. Tonight, I'm going to start off on sort of a very, well, let me first and foremost send condolences to the Irish family at this time. Last week, Sunday, we woke up in Dominica, read this very unfortunate news that greeted us, whereby Mr. Gifford Irish, a very quiet, very cool, very collective brother. I had a couple engagements with this brother, and that is what I can say about him. Very calm, very cool. I'm never rushed. Always, you know, was on his mission. But last Sunday, we got up to the very dreadful news that allegedly for now, because it has not been conclusive as yet, in terms of investigations and reporting by the police, that allegedly this brother took his life in the Castle Comfort area. So at this time, the Irish family, Mr. Enzo Irish, Mr. Alistair Irish, his wife, all his brothers, sisters, the entire family, the NBD folks, that brother worked with these people for some time. I'm being told about 30 years as a banker at the NBD, and so I know it hit you guys as a ton of brick. So when you guys heard of the very unfortunate situation with his brother, but it tells a story as it relates to the situation that we are encountering in Dominica and have been encountering for some time. And so that is why tomorrow evening on the Civic Vibes program, we're going to start a series of conversations, among others, that will sort of shed some light as it relates to some of the very things that cause people to go down that road. For the past year, I am talking about 2023, we had a number of situations where person opted to taking their own life. That is by no means the best way out, but some persons choose that way out. So we'll be starting a conversation, and out of that conversation, I am hoping that that conversation will bear much fruit as it relates to some kind of much more tangible ways in terms of a solution or solutions as it relates to things that people encounter, and some of them choose to go it alone. So tomorrow from 6 o'clock, we'll be starting that all-important series, as I say, with our dear sister, what's her name now? Dr. Triffy, Margaret Wallace, and we all know her. So we'll be starting up that conversation with her as it relates to, as I said before, trying to find a solution or solutions to at least that scourge that has been plaguing Dominicans of late. It is always sad to lose someone, but it is a much sadder situation to lose someone in that manner. And so we will be starting that all-important conversation. Out of that conversation, we from the Civic Vibes end, we are hoping that some sort of action plan will be put in place. A lot of times we wait on government, we wait on the government to do things. I think we as a people, we need to step up in that department, especially where the government is not doing or have failed to do. Let us as a people, we have done that before as a people. Let us come as a people and do things for ourselves. And so once that sort of attitude is there, I think as the good old saying goes, where there is a will, there is a way. And so if we have that will, we try to make that way will be much broader, and it will be open up as it relates to, solutions. I'll also be following up in terms of conversation with some people who are directly charged with caring for people with mental issues. And so I will be making a very concerted effort come next week to have some kind of contact made with some of these professionals in Dominica and even those outside of Dominica, so that we as a people can sort of stem the tide where that is concerned. Dominica people, it is not an easy country to deal with. Dominica is a very rough place. It's a very tough place. It depends on just who you are. And so I always want to empathize, and in that case sympathize with people who are in that predicament, and for some reason they decide to, go it alone. And unfortunately sometimes that is the result. So we'll be starting that conversation, and as I said, hope that it be a fruit in terms of having something that people can tap into whenever those situations arise. Having said that, I just now want to dovetail into a situation that I have been noticing that I've been showing its ugly head, I must say, for some time. In that, as I said before, Dominica is a very rough country. Separate and apart from the natural stuff that we have, the God-given stuff, nature, the beauties, the natural beauties that we behold. The everyday life in Dominica, it's a very tough one. And it is always not a nice thing or not a nice situation to hear people not being in the heat, not being in the thick and thin of things, castigate the Dominican people in some way, shape, or form. And I'll be very specific here now. A matter of fact, I was on the group chat. Well, I am still on that group chat, and I basically had to put a brother in check after having, read and got a gist of his sentiments, read some of the hard work that people in Dominica try to do to elevate this country. And it was one situation whereby this young lady, very hard-working young lady, that is Emmeline Ansem, tried her best and is still trying to bring to us in Dominica news, up-to-date information. And specifically when these 4 people, I believe, 4 people lost their lives up in the Laplin area, where this plane plunged into this forest area. Emmeline was trying her best to bring us up to speed with what was happening in real time. And here it is, this brother was on a chat that I am part of. And all I was getting from this brother is the negative stuff as to how this young lady and her crew, they are carrying the event and trying to bring us up to speed. And after a while, I had to, sort of open my mouth. But through my writing, that is. And told his brother, he's out of line. And so the negativity that went with his comments as to this young lady trying her best, it was not the best way. It was not fruitful in terms of the outcome. And so I want to commend people like Emily Nanslem and others who in the media, or people, no matter what walks of life you are, and you are trying your best to make Dominica a much better place. I commend each and every one of you. I know there's much room for improvement, but sometimes, alas, especially now, and folks, you know me very well, I don't put water in my wine, as it were, in terms of my utterances and my feelings, especially from some of you who live outside of this country. And you don't have an iota of the stress, the strain, the struggle that people here go through. And you guys sit in your comfort zone, as it were, and you chastise. You pull down, you tear down. You guys need to stop it. Dominica, as we speak, does not have a Freedom of Information Act. It does not. And so anybody in the media in Dominica trying to extract factual information to you guys out there, it is like pulling teeth. Have you gone to a dentist? The powers that be in Dominica, they will not facilitate free, fair, and transparent information in terms of free flow. And so it's on that note I want to commend people like Kalai and who else, Emmeline and others who try their very best to bring you guys the information to the best of their ability from the horse's mouth, as it were. It is not an easy thing. It is not an easy job trying to do any investigative work in Dominica as it relates to especially where corrupt activity or activities are concerned. I can tell you that. You always have to have some sort of other source or other sources, and then you will try to piece the information together based on what you have been getting. And so it is not an easy road. And so it saddens me sometimes when I see some of you or hear some of you or read some of your comments chastising people back home as it relates to their work that they're trying to do to get you factual information to the best of their ability. And so I just said I want to release that on my chest tonight, because it was something that sort of, hit me the wrong way. It is good to criticize, it is good to critique, but it is another thing to come up with solutions. And so those of you who have been trying your best to help Dominicans, help us on this land to maintain some kind of civility, to maintain some kind of order, I thank you guys. So instead, some of you guys stay and, criticize. Ask where you can help. And you'll be very surprised to learn and understand how you can help and the outcome of your contribution. Sometimes it is just a matter of asking. Folks, on that note, let me move along very quick. As I told you guys, an hour passes very, very quickly. I am in the know of another documentary that is in the making. as it relates to this brother and his partner who were brutally murdered, I must say, in Dominica. That is Mr. Daniel Langlois and his partner by two men charged with that crime in the names of Mr. Jonathan Lara, and also Mr. Robert Snyder. So there was a first documentary, and that documentary, I can tell you, based on those of you who saw it and heard it, it was very, very damning, a documentary. So there's one on the way, in the making as we speak. And if you think the first one was damning, wait till you hear the second one. And the Canadians are basically on that case like white is on rice, and they are not letting it go. We are hearing about the shenanigans. We are hearing about the ups and downs as it relates to that matter in our court system in Dominica. We are hearing it. But I can tell you guys, the Canadians are not letting this one go at all. And somebody, some people must be some way, someday. So stay tuned for that second, as it were, documentary soon out on the following up of things, where Mr. Daniel Langlois and his partner brutally murdered, I must say, in Dominica about a year plus now. On that note, moving along very quickly, I want to commend very, very well this young lady outside of the Melville Hall Airport about a week back, or 2 weeks back. Time flies so fast. Natasha Gardier is her name, from the north of Dominica. This young lady stood outside that airport, as we all saw, some of us, with a placard protesting about a pilot that was coming to Dominica on an inaugural flight directly from the United States end. She, that young lady, is alleging that that pilot in question basically molested her son some time back when her son attended the St. John's Primary School in Portsmouth. The pilot in question, upon investigation by the police, was charged with that crime. A matter of fact, that brother, before he became pilot, he was placed on bail. Read that matter. I'm being told from very factual sources. So yes, that pilot that some of you guys hailed a hero in terms of he being the pilot, Dominican pilot that is, coming into Dominica, read his flight, this first flight, directly from America soil. Some of you guys went out there and, did what you had to do in hailing him a hero. But this young lady had nothing heroic on her mind as it relates to that pilot. And she stood outside in the rain, in the weather, with a placard protesting. We have not seen that in Dominica in numbers before. Our protest actions in Dominica have been too far and few in between. And so again, is on that note I want to commend her very highly, because she keeps saying that her son attended the St. John's Primary High School in Portsmouth some time back, some years back, and he was molested, sexually assaulted by this man who was coming as a hero into Dominica when he was some teacher or some whatever it is at the St. John's School. I'm also being told that 2 other people were also part of that investigation by the police. But for some reason, the 2 other people, they were not charged like this brother, in that their part or their parts that they played in that matter to the police or to the law, it was not that egregious. And so they were let off the hook. But that brother, that pilot, way back when, he was charged with a crime of assaulting a young boy, a school boy. And not just charged, he was put on bail for that crime. And like you have it in any dictatorship, like you'd have it in any corrupt country, based on your connection or connections, this man that was on bail, and I am assuming should not have left the country without a court order or without the court giving him the green light. He was facilitated by the DLP rogue regime to leave this country on a scholarship to do aviation duties or aviation training. Hence, he's now a ripe old pilot. And so the person that facilitated, he lived in Dominica. You know yourself very well. This brother, I'm being told, is in a very high, prestigious position in Dominica. Supposed to be working for and on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth as per his position. But for some reason, based on his output, it seems as if it is the other way around. He has been working for the cabal, the rogue regime that Roosevelt carried heads. And it seems as if this brother cannot get it in his call that he's supposed to be working for the people and not the regime. And so I'm being told he was the primary architect with the connection that this brother slash pilot had with the regime, being from the north. They got him to leave the country on a scholarship now to say he was going to do piloting duties. He was going to train to be a pilot. And so, folks, it is very sad where justice in Dominica cannot roll down or cannot move through this country in an unabated fashion. It cannot flow like a river. It cannot flow like a mighty stream, because they are always the enablers of the rogue regime to come a step in the way of justice where Dominicans are concerned. And so I commend you, Ms. Gadier, for not letting that matter rest. And you know what is the very funny thing about, as I speak about justice or injustice in her case? This lady was consistently and persistently following up with the legal aspect or the legal people. Read that matter in the court after this brother was on bail, trying to ensure just when will she and he and her son that was molested get their day in court. And all along things were going very well in terms of documents being there, documents filed, and this brother is on bail. He was made to skip bail with an enabler primarily, who holds a very high position in this regime. And so, when the word got out that he was coming to Dominica, or coming back to Dominica, not as someone charged with a crime. Let me just get some power on my set here, people. Seeing this is telling me 15%. All right, good to go. When the word got out that he was coming back to Dominica, not as an alleged criminal, but as a hero, this lady went to the court system to try to find out just where that matter is at, only to be told now, after being told on numerous occasions before that it is in the system, only to be told that the documents were nowhere and cannot be found. And so I am asking the question now, did the enabler in that high position in Dominica, you know yourself, did you have any part to play in those documents that gone awry? I'm just asking a question. Because this young lady, as we speak, she's basically between a rock and a hard place. And by the way, the bail that this brother skipped, I am hearing someone very, very close to him who secured that bail in terms of being his surety, had to come up with the cash when he did not appear before the High Court to answer the charge in his name. And so his surety, I'm being told, a very close relative of his, had to come up with the cash. But hear what I'm getting. And you will not hear that anywhere. It is through the sifting of the information in terms of the grapevine that you will pick up those kind of information. The system is so corrupt, on the surface of it, it would appear that his surety came up with those dollars when he did not appear on her, it's a her, on her own accord or through her own means. Corruption, people, is a thing. It stinks. And when it stinks, it has a very, very bad stench. And corruption and corrupt activities and corrupt actors, they go very deep. And so what I'm being made to understand now, that bail money, that bond that was paid by this lady on behalf of this man, those monies did not come from her hard earnings. Those monies did not come from her pocket. Those monies did not come from her own hard work. Somehow, the connection with the cabal facilitated putting those monies in her hand so she could come and stand in the gap as if, well, those monies came from her. Dominicans, this place called Dominica, it needs a cleansing from inside out. That is in as much as I can say it, so that you can understand. This, our lovely Dominica, it needs a cleansing, a purging from inside out. And let me qualify that purging. It is in desperate need of a political purging. Because the politicians in Dominica, the people who hold these powerful positions, they are running amok with this country. And the very sad thing about it, people, some of you, yes, some of you who may be listening and watching now or will watch it later, you choose to see no evil, hear no evil, and will even stretch it to speak not about evil. That is how dangerous it is. So I am saying, we need what you call in the spiritual realm now, a kenosis. A total kenosis. It is an outpouring. But that usually happens from inside out. That is what this country is in desperately need of. So all these men and women who are posing as your representatives, you need to really ask them, what are they representing, or who are they representing? It's not you. It is not you for sure. And so I know the backlash that young lady got, and is still getting as we speak, as it relates to her stance for not country, but her child. Her mind was bamboozled. Her brain was bamboozled with calls and comments and innuendos and victimization speech and utterances. You guys don't know. And so when people, where I started off in this country, choose to take a way out of the predicament that is not becoming, some of us, we wonder why. But it is these and other very strenuous situations that the people of Dominica have to contend with on a daily basis. And some of these people cannot cook. They just cannot cook. That's the harsh reality, people. I cannot paint it any better. I cannot paint a more prettier picture. It is what it is. It's a very ugly picture, but it is what it is. It's the naked truth. And so I commend this lady for standing up for a child. And she's prepared to face the firing squad, the political firing squad, as it were. She's prepared. How many more of you guys out there will have to suffer same or similar fate to come to your realization that this country is not in good hands? How many more? And this lady, her family, she's from the north. And for some reason, the north of Dominica, very strange, because of, I guess, some sort of connections back then, and still continue to linger, have this sort of perpetual infinity or finity with a system that keeps pressing them down, not realizing that sort of affinity have brought them nowhere and will bring them nowhere. And so it is a sort of voodoo mathematics that you cannot comprehend. And when you hear people, especially from the north of the country, said to you or keep saying to you, I was born Leba. A matter of fact, they was born in Lebo. Mokai Moa Lebo, meaning I will die in labor. You know that the mental faculties are not right. And so it is a very rough road. It's a very tough one to traverse now, to get some people to understand their predicament, where they are, and what needs to be done to get them out. That is the very, very tasking and arduous job to do. But that is what we are faced with, people. Do you know, as we speak, it have some people, if you ask them about their livelihood when Ross left and their livelihood now, they will tell you it has deteriorated. They will tell you things have gone haywire as it pertains to their continuing to survive, not live, survive. But at the end of that conversation, you will hear some kind of pacifying tone. You will hear some kind of trying to make amends as to why they are supporting, what they are supporting to their own peril. It is strange but true. Very strange but true. And so to everybody on the island who are trying their best to get some people to get out from the state now, I commend you guys highly. I commend you guys highly. I know some of you guys don't believe in the Bible, but the Bible have some references that I normally use to drive home certain key points. And so Gideon only needed 300 men to get the job done out of thousands. Only 300. Is there 300 people in Dominica who are prepared to get the job done? I'm asking the question. Is there 300 people in Dominica to get the job done? In terms of the mindset, the eradication of that mindset. Some of you may say, that's the Old Testament. Let's get down to the New. Those of you believe. I know some of you don't. It doesn't matter. The principle still holds. The Christ that some of you are prepared to die for and do anything for in the name of your religion. He did it with 12. Again, a critical question to you guys out there. Are there 12, just 12, who would be willing to be the bearers of the good news in terms of trying to eradicate that mentality? I will leave that question for you to answer. And I hope you would be saying, yes, I would like to be, or I am part of that number. Folks, before I leave, I know sometimes I am sounding, and I want to sound as an old stock record. I really want to sound so. Because I know when the history of this country will be revealed as it is being recorded now, I want that refrain to be right up there. And so I don't mind being sounded like an old stock record. And so it's on that note, I will come back to you guys and say, in which country of late we have been seeing leaders just doing stuff, and the people are so, welcoming, comfortable. In which country, I'm asking the question, would a leader tell you, based on his living accommodation, where he is sucking from a country, he's sucking from an economy that is on its back, basically. It cannot do nothing for the citizens. That's the economy that is. But the leader, or the man who sits in the chair as the leader, would be sucking from that economy pretty close to 100,000 EC dollars per month on his living and his lifestyle. And 2 years back, he promised you, he made a solemn promise to you that he would have been out of that accommodation. He would have released the state, meaning released you of that debt, that burden of 100. We're not talking 70,000 again, because we now put in the traveling and everything and the expenses and their likes. So we're ratcheting it up now to 100,000 EC dollars. Most of you listening to me now will never ever live to see and make 100,000 EC dollars. Never. Not in your lifetime. Based on your predicament, especially after the past 25 years. But you are prepared, you are comfortable in your skin to have one man take from you 100,000 EC dollars a month to live a very lavish and kingly lifestyle. After being promised, you know what they say a promise is? After being promised that he would have made some kind of other arrangement to alleviate the people, the poor people of Dominica, of that burden. Today, he's still in that situation, still in that accommodation, enjoying the luxuries of your money. And it seems as if you guys forgot, conveniently so. And so Roosevelt Scary told you, long time back, after the 2 years that Austria and others came up deceptively so to have him in a house, a bunker style type mansion at Mount Daniel, that many people are believing and are saying and are repeating it is his. So basically, if it is true, the state, you are paying a man to live in what is his, as per the utterances of Dominicans. That is if they're right. I pray they are not right. But there are many questions surrounding that type and kind of accommodation. Who in Dominica, which man or woman in Dominica would ever think of building a house, a mansion type house, and would rent it out? Who in Dominica can own a rent of 70,000 EC a month? Who? But conveniently so, the man who sits in the chair of Prime Minister has been living in that type of accommodation for some time and has surpassed the given time he stated to you he would have been out. And for some of you, it is like everything is hunky-dory, everything is A-OK. It was Marina Williams in Trafalgar all the way back in 2009. Told you, the Dominican people, she gave Roosevelt Skerritt a piece of land. Roosevelt Skerritt has property in his name, in his hometown, his constituency in Vegas. That is on the record, he said. When it was in foundation, it had surpassed the figure publicly. He told people that that house would have costed him. There are many, many more other properties, it is alleged, that he owns. But for some reason, these other properties are not suitable for him, his wife, and his children, and whoever else to enjoy. But it is up at Mount Daniel. He is perched like a dove, sucking your money, $100,000 EC plus. And you guys are comfortable with that. Well, I'm not. Because when I buy toilet paper, it lends, or it adds to that money that is being paid to whoever the rightful owner is or owners are. When I buy a tube of toothpaste in Dominica, it also adds as well. A pound of sugar, everything I pay for in Dominica, taxes, my taxes are collected, and it is that and more, coupled with yours, that this guy is enjoying, just like we saw in times of old and times now, where dictators just lived off the people. Bashar al-Assad was forced out about 3 or 4 months ago from that kind of a lifestyle. And when the people who pushed him out went into and had an idea of his living and his lifestyle, it was only something that some people that he ruled over for 40-something years would only dream of. And so I am in no fallacy, I am in no la-la land, I am in no land of my own, that is a replica lifestyle that your prime minister enjoys on your back and my back in Dominica. And everywhere Roosevelt's carried is sin, he should be remembered of his words, his commitment to Dominicans in that regard. Everywhere, at a function, like his acolyte said, everywhere that you see this guy, you should remind him about his words and his living accommodations on your back. Ask him when he's leaving. Just ask him. Say, Mr. Prime Minister, when are you leaving Mount Daniel? Ask for your words. And see if you get an answer. Just that. And I am saying he should always be made to remember. He should never leave off your hard-earned dollar so comfortable. No. Not when the state can provide other means and have provided other means for past prime ministers or people who sat in that chair. We are 1 minute away, people. And I'm just getting heated up now. So in terms of recap, again, I want to empathize, sympathize with the family of Mr. Gifford Irish. On that note, the Civic Vibes program tomorrow will be having a conversation with none other than Dr. Triffy, that is Margaret Wallace, who will be starting off a series of conversation where we will be focusing on mental health / mental issues in Dominica. That has been on the rise for some time. And so that is where Civic Vibes come in with another type of conversation to have you guys understand what we are dealing with in terms of people, Dominicans like you and myself, suffering. So that is the conversation to be had tomorrow. Again, I want to commend Ms. Natasha Gadier, who stood up in spite of the inclement weather to bring to the public's attention in terms of her protest action of a man who she said, that molested her son and cannot get justice up till this day in the system. So Natasha, I want to commend you highly. Again, I also want to put on record that those of you, especially out there now, who sometimes seek to not have an idea of the real deal, the brass tacks on the ground, and you keep criticizing, the word as well tonight for you. Instead of criticizing, suggest or ask, how can you help? Because it is not an easy road in this country, people. It is not. When some people have to be battling between their priorities and doing work pro bono, it is not an easy road. As we speak in Dominica, a tin of tuna, chunk tuna, it is $6 EC, just about there. $5.35, $5.40 in the supermarkets. It depends on where you go. When you go out of the town, this $6, it starts to get bigger. And so it is $7 and $8, $9 based on where you go in the rural areas. And so I just give you that example as a live example so that you could understand the predicament where the economy now is concerned. So when some people have to be juggling between that in terms of trying to make ends meet and still have the guts, have the gumption, have what it takes, the fortitude to stick their neck out in whatever way, shape, or form, some of you guys, I must qualify it, some of you guys must be a little more thankful. So Dominicans, thank you very much. Those of you who are not from Dominican include, thank you very much as well, because we know with social media, the world is basically, as they say, one small space. That was the live engagement from yours truly, February 22, 2025. Whatever is left of your night, do enjoy, and I wish you guys a great and blessed week ahead. Those of you celebrating Carnival, please do that with some kind of moderation, because after the 2-3 days or the week or whatever it is, there will be other days. Just keep that in mind. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. See you guys next week, same time, same place, but before next week, tomorrow from 6 o'clock. Thank you, Dominicans. Bye-bye. I love you.